Mr. Bugler?
Yes.
Ms. Alger?
Yes.
Mr. Payne?
Yes.
Dr. Payne?
Yes.
Sullivan Street?
Yes.
Ms. Ford?
Yes.
All present.
Please pause for a minute of silence as we prepare for the meeting tonight. Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dr. Fox, do you have any agenda changes or additions?
I do. I have one change this evening. Under consent agenda approval personnel action, we're going to move that to action items as 7.03.
Okay.
Thank you.
I have a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Motion to approve the agenda as amended. Second.
The motion by Dr. Painter and a second by Ms. Alger to approve the agenda as amended.
Ms. Alger?
Yes.
Mr. Painter?
Yes.
Dr. Painter?
Yes.
Mr. Bugler?
Yes.
Ms. Sullivan Street?
Yes.
Ms. Ford?
Yes. Madam Chairman, I'd like to certify that personnel matters were discussed in closed session according to section 2.2-3711A1.
Second.
There's a motion by Mrs. Sullivan Sweet and a second by Ms. Alger to certify personnel matters discussed in closed session.
Mr. Painter?
Yes.
Dr. Painter?
Yes.
Ms. Alger?
Yes.
Mr. Bugler?
Yes.
Ms. Sullivan Street?
Yes.
Ms. Ford?
Yes. And there's no citizen
No
comment?
citizen. I have one.
One more thing submitted. We have a motion to approve the consent agenda for religious exemptions.
I make a motion that we approve the 2 religious exemptions.
Second.
A motion by Dr. Painter and a second by Mr. Painter to approve the consent agenda.
Dr. Painter?
Yes.
Mr. Bugler?
Yes.
Ms. Alger?
Yes.
Mr. Painter?
Yes.
Ms. Sullivan Street?
Yes.
Ms. Ford?
Yes. The October minutes are posted for review. Any questions? Dr. Fox? Oh, actually, Sebastian. School board student representative updates.
All right. What is and has been happening at Page County High School? We've got our Veterans Day breakfast and assembly coming up tomorrow. Our pizza kits came in for all the people that ordered those for their prom tickets. The introductions for the Spanish Honor Society, the National Honor Society, and Tri-M were all put in. Tryouts for winter sports, that happened. The coin contest where we raise money for Page One for the families in need, that's coming to a conclusion tomorrow, and at the next meeting I'll say how much we raised. Also, over the past month, we've had Spanish cultural activities for Spanish Heritage Month. Our FFA activities, we had Casey's Backpack. We do that one Thursday a month, and we actually had that going on today. We fill up bags for people in need with some food and stuff. We have Veterans Day breakfast tomorrow. Our livestock judging is also coming up soon. We have some nursing home donations. We have some stuff going on for them for the holidays. And the largest Food for America ever that we had this year. And I'd say it was a pretty good success. I think all the kids really enjoyed it. And then we've got some Thanksgiving stuff coming up soon that we haven't decided exactly what we want to do, but there is definitely going to be something for that. FCCLA, they're also helping with the Veterans Day breakfast. They just had a trip to Birmingham, Alabama for, I believe, their officers. They've got a food drive coming up. I'll have more details on that in the future, but that's something that they're planning. And also, we're selling wreaths across America, which is where we sell wreaths and then we go and put them on the gravestones on like, the National Cemetery. FBLA, they also sell wreaths across America. They're also helping with the Veterans Day stuff, and their like uniforms for their club members have also arrived. The Fellowship of Christian Students, they had their first meeting this month. And there's also a mother that is battling cancer that they're planning on having a bake sale for. And then cross country, we've got Summer Kite and Aaron Hensley will be competing in cross country states at Salem on Saturday. And then there's been some attendance issues this year, but we're strongly encouraging people to do a little bit better. We've got a bulletin board of people that are doing good, and then we've got a competition among first blocks for whoever has the best attendance for the longest will get some type of reward. And that's it. Thank you all for listening.
Thank you.
Great report. Good stuff.
Thank you for your update. Ms. Seacrest, monthly financials.
Yes, good evening, board members. You all have been provided with the October monthly report of expenditures and revenues for $3,515,236.88. Along with that, you have the local match calculation that we did balance with the treasurer's office. If you have any questions, I'll do my best to answer that.
Dr. Johnson, Human Resources and Business Operations.
Yes, good evening, members of the school board. Tonight, we wanted to focus on the training that our administrators have been doing over the last 3 to 4 months in regards to school safety. A lot goes on behind the scenes, and I think every now and then just to share with the public some of the training they've done is valuable. This particular focus is really on threat assessment and what goes into that at the school level with our administrators and their teams. And so we really began this emphasis in July following Code of Virginia update, and I'll share that with you. But so we had 2 members from DCJS, the Department of Criminal Justice Services, come to Page County, and we set aside a work day and spent several hours with these individuals working through this threat assessment process. In September at a principals meeting, again, we came together and distributed quite a lot of guidance. I'll share what that is. And then in November, just a week or so ago, we personalized all of this back to Page County. And it's great to get DCJS in. It's great to see the resources that are out there. But what does that look like in our schools and with our people? So I thought I'd give you a quick overview this evening of what that looks like. So the first one back in July, 2 individuals came, and that was in response to, you can see there, the Virginia law updated, and it just requires that you've got to make sure your threat assessment team is intact. You know who's on it, and they know what their expectations and roles are. And so it was a fantastic time. Not only were school administrators there, all of our SROs were there across the county, our school counselor teams, and the central office team. So the room was full, all playing slightly different roles in threat assessment and response. But to hear it from folks at the state level and experts in the topic, it was good to have everybody together. We looked at the Virginia model policies. They distributed some resources for us to do. And then we broke out and we did mock scenarios and responses. And they came around and, wanted to know what, how did a principal team respond to a given scenario and why, and what were you thinking? And it was valuable time with those folks in July. And we followed that in September. A lot of credit to Mrs. Casey Owens. She does a lot of work in keeping her hands on the resources in organizing the resources so that our folks can get to them easily and quickly when needed. And so Casey came back in September and provided some things. I've jumped ahead on myself. These are the topics that were covered in July with the state folks: management, identification, information sharing, how to classify cases, and just the steps out from that. But we followed that, next slide, in September then, with basically gave the administrators just a toolkit. And if you look at the sources of these documents, U.S. Department of Homeland Security, DCJS, U.S. Department of Justice, Virginia Department of Ed, Secret Service, there's a lot of resources out there, but getting them in a position, in a place where you can access them and know how they all play in. But that's what Mrs. Owens did for our team following the summer training. And so we feel really good about the information, the toolkits, the things that are accessible. And then we followed that in early November, just a week and a half ago. And what the school administrative teams now have is actually an online folder, a one-stop shop for these materials. And we took them through everything from reminders to, okay, we're going to identify our teams. We're going to list them. We're going to store them in a place where anybody, that is on the inside needs to know who exactly is on a team. We can get to it quickly. What are the Page County procedures? Not put out, at the national level, but in a school. What are our procedures for threat assessment? Casey provided fillable forms, very helpful to the administrators. The days of printing and working through, and maybe you could get your hand on the form quickly, maybe you couldn't. Those days are gone. Really a valuable one-stop shop. And checklists that they would fill out with their threat assessment teams. It's not just a principal and assistant principal. The team, typically, you're going to have a school counselor on there. SRO is going to be on there. And so just giving our folks the tools to say when we need to respond quickly and effectively, we can. So these 3 trainings have kind of culminated starting in July all the way until just this month with I think, a really good sort of funnel approach for our folks. So I thought it'd be good to share that with you. The last thing I wanted to share, as you all know, every now and then we do have a we call it a crisis. Sometimes it's a false alarm. Sometimes it's not. It could be malfunction and an odor in the building, or it could be a student emergency. But every year, you did this in August, you approved our school crisis plan. We've historically kept that under lock and key with good reason, and we still will. There's a lot of information in that crisis plan that we can't have out for the safety and well-being of our schools. But in conversation with some parents over the last few weeks, I realized that some of the questions and some of the calls that I take, there were sensible questions and sensible things that parents are like, well, how do I know this? Where do I find out, what the teacher's telling my child to do if there's a drill, if there's a lockdown, if there's this or that? So I went to Dr. Fox, and what I would like to do is create a parent version of a school crisis plan. That would remove all of the confidential things that we can't share, detailed maps of our buildings, who's assigned to what task during an evacuation or a crisis. We wouldn't share those things. But there are things, and I kind of bulleted them out. Our crisis plan has some things in it, such as what types of critical incidents do we typically see? That's not secure private information. That's just examples of what are some of the things we would see? What are some of the medical emergencies we would see? When there's an emergency, who does what at the central office level? What's myself or Ms. Ryman or Dr. Fox? General descriptions of who's involved in these things. And then a very general 30,000-foot overview of school level responsibilities, definitions of roles. I've been asked once or twice by parents, what is the definition of a lockdown? What is some of the terminology that you see? Good question. It's in here, but we have not released that because it's all part of this secure document. So and then the last bullet, historical safety training, things that we do regularly with our staff, the public doesn't know. And I don't think it would be a bad thing to say. Look back and show you agendas of when we did Alice training, when we got the Life Spot app, when we met with emergency responders in a given scenario. So the proposal is under what's next is that we work to not give away the things that ensure safety, but to give away the things that maybe would help parents understand what's going on in our preparation. So,
How would you communicate that?
it would be, yeah, I'm sorry, what was that?
The things that you've done, the things that are.
Well, what we would do is I think we would advertise it at the school level. We certainly maybe could even do a push notification, but we would house it on the school website along, the perfect place for it's going to be somewhere either in or near the student handbook and code of conduct, because that's such a go-to document for our parents, and it would make sense that something like this would be in that same area under the parent links of the website, and let them know it's there. And then, Mrs. Smoot talks about this often, having paper versions that are available upon request as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Dr. Sapp, Superintendent's update.
Yep, good evening, board members. Tonight I have a verbal update with just a couple of things for you. Sebastian, thank you for your report, again, for sharing some of the good things that are going on with kids in our schools. And to our students who are here tonight, I'm assuming earning credit for government class, is that correct? Yeah, well, welcome to a school board meeting. We're excited to see some of you here. I want to send congratulations and a welcome to two new school board members. So Mr. Michael Overfelt was elected this week, and he'll replace Mr. Gubler in District 2. And then Mrs. Renee Bryant was also elected, and she's going to replace Dr. Painter in District 3. So we certainly look forward to working with them and officially welcoming them in January. So to them, we say congratulations. And to Mr. Gubler and Dr. Painter, we'll talk about you guys next month, and thank you. But just know we're going to miss you all, and we thank you for the work that you've done on our board. Also want to extend congratulations to Mr. Painter. He won re-election and now has a brand new shiny four-year deal for District 4. So congratulations. And Miss Alger, you have earned and were elected to the District 2 seat that was vacated by Mr. Lansbury. So 1 year. Oh, sorry, I said 2, didn't I? I always do that. I'm sorry. District 1. For 1 year, it'll end, and then you can run again. So another election for you coming up. So, but again, to all of you, thank you for your willingness, and to you all for continuing and your willingness to do this often thankful work. So we appreciate that. Just an update on enrollment. We're still in the plus by 55 students. So again, budget-wise, that's a good thing for us as we move forward. Speaking of budget season is upon us. It's now time to start thinking about that for next year. So our templates have been distributed to principals and department heads. They're going to get that information back to Mrs. Seacrest by the 17th. And then we begin using that information to start building our budget. We'll come to you with budget priorities for next year, FY24. So start thinking about those things that you want to see in the budget. The General Assembly session this year will be a long session because it's a new biennium. So it'll be the 60-day session instead of the 30-day session. And it will be in December. We're expecting Governor Youngkin's 2-year biennial budget. So what we did 2 years ago, we'll see that process happen again. So it does take a little bit longer, hopefully not as long as last year's process took. But if you think back to 2022, things were delayed probably until about early May. I think we finally got things because it was a biennial budget then. So fingers crossed that they can expedite some things, and fingers crossed that there's additional funding that comes to the school divisions. And then just want to wish everybody, given that this is our only meeting in November, and believe it or not, Thanksgiving is right around the corner. It's hard to believe that. Just want to take opportunity to thank our faculty, our staff, our students, our parents, our guardians, our board members, our community members. Want to wish them a very happy Thanksgiving, and just thank everybody for their continued work and support. There's a lot of things going on, as evidenced by what Sebastian shared. A lot of good things happening. So we want to say thank you to all of the people who are making those things happen, and to the people in the community who are supporting us either through things like our mentor programs or our community forums. We're grateful for all of that support as well. That concludes my report.
Thank you.
I have a couple questions. So, as we finish out the year, we got vacation, holidays, and all those things. I'm concerned about what we see as a board. I've mentioned it many times. I don't see metrics tell us how we're moving, how things are going. So if you can't see a metric, you can't manage something. I know we're managing a lot of chaos caused by people. But we have to have our school system moving forward, no matter what kind of chaos is out. Strategic plan, I don't know when that's going to be released. It's,
I would hope by the end of the year.
end of the year. And we had that program that we picked up last year from the conference. I think it's called Frontline.
Yeah, that's in place.
And I asked a couple meetings ago about show us some of the data. Haven't seen any. And I'm gonna just encourage our directors, Gabby, Dr. Fox, you got to get out in the buildings. I know you're out in the building. You have to get out in the buildings and know what's going on at the level one. There are schools in our system that haven't been visited by you guys. That's a problem, in my opinion. Now, maybe I'm one of 6. Maybe I'm the only one that thinks that's a problem, but you cannot manage 600 people behind a desk. We did a lot of good things last year, I think, the surveys, talking with people in the community, getting buy-in from everybody. But it's time to take it to another level, in my opinion. I'm encouraging you to do that.
And I would just comment, we're in a different world today. And the more communication, and I'm speaking more like supervisors and things like that, faculty need to see you all in the building. I'm not saying every week or whatever, but be there and just strike up a conversation. But they need to know, and everybody's busy, but I really feel that's important, that they have a concern or whatever, you're just another person that they can share that with, and needs to be, and feel good about, being able to have someone that they can come. But again, we're in a whole different world today, and the more communication and visibility, I think, maybe it won't improve overnight, but it's a step, and I really do encourage that.
Ms. Seekers, claims for payment.
Yes, good evening again, board members. You have been provided with the claim certification where the operating fund is $168,914.69. Capital improvement fund, $8,721.80. Food service fund, $70,825.64 for total expenditures of $248,462.13. Along with that, you have the list of claims and the check registers. If you have any questions, I'll do my best to answer them.
We can make a motion that we accept the claims for payment as presented.
Second. A motion by Mr. Painter and a second by Mrs. Sullivan Smith to accept the claims for payment as presented.
Mr. Cooper?
Yes.
Ms. Alger? Yes. Mr. Painter?
Yes.
Dr. Painter? Yes. Ms. Sullivan Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Ford?
Yes. Mrs. Seekers.
Yes, board, we have one purchase order over 10,000 for your consideration this evening. It is for 100 iPads and the licensings. That would also be using technology funds. I'm sure myself or Mr. Samples can answer any questions you may have.
Make a motion, we approve the purchase orders over 10,000.
Second.
A motion by Ms. Alger and a second by Ms.
I
Sullivan
have a
Smith.
question. Are these replacing anything or is it new stuff? These are replacing what there's going to be. Live service, okay.
Ms. Alger? Yes. Mr. Painter?
Yes.
Dr. Painter? Yes. Mr. Cooper?
Yes.
Ms. Sullivan Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Ford?
Yes.
I'd like to approve the personnel action as amended. Second?
We have a motion by Dr. Painter, a second by Ms. Alger to approve personnel as amended.
Mr. Painter.
Yes.
Dr. Painter.
Yeah.
Mr. Gaebler.
Yes.
Ms. Alger.
Yeah.
Ms. Sullivan Smith.
Yes.
Ms. Moore.
Yes. Board member discussion time?
Well, I would just like to share this morning, or today, it was Meet Your Legislator, and it was held by the Harrisonburg City Public Schools. And I was assigned to visit Harrisonburg High School. And that's quite a building. And of course, Harrisonburg being the city that it is, their resources, it's just amazing what they have. And a lot of good programs. And they have difficulties just like every other school. But one thing I would like to say, and if our Board of Supervisors are listening, I would like to encourage them at some point to go and visit some local schools in the area to see what they have. And I know we can't compare because our revenue and everything, I get all that. But I would like for them to visit some of these schools and get an idea of what is out there. And just know that, we don't have, a lot of resources like bigger places. And I understand that, but I think it's interesting to see what can happen. And if you only got one thing to add, that would be great. So I encourage, and it doesn't have to be Harrisonburg City. You can go to East Rock or Warren County or wherever, Shenandoah County, and just kind of look and see. But sometimes I think there's not a clear understanding of what it takes to run a school. And maybe seeing some other things differently might, add in. So I just throw that out as a suggestion.
Yeah, one of the most impressive things I saw today was I finally have seen what it looks like for a classroom to have scaffold. Now, we as a board, we rarely get out into schools. Probably we need to fix some of that, or something we should be doing. But I was very impressed with what I saw there. And the second takeaway I had was the STEM part of it. I'm assuming, I don't want to assume anything, what that does to you. Do we have a STEM person in our schools?
We have teachers that are picking up those loads and doing it, but like they had, we don't have an assigned person who's
We did it
managing
one time,
makerspace.
didn't we? He moved to Loudon, right? Important role. Got to keep children interested, especially the higher learners.
I swore I was going to behave. I can't. I felt convicted sitting here. So the part about getting into school, I can say that it's whatever you make a priority. I can sit here. It's like preaching to the choir. I'm the same kind of job that you are, but I know if I go straight to my office, I'm never going to get out of it. So I try to make it a practice to start somewhere. It's a little hard to get stuck behind your desk if you start somewhere. Secondly, when you talked about the programs, I'm going to have to say it's different. I'm going to say it's the people, it's not the programs. That's why it's kind of important to try to take care of the ones you have and support them with things like with the STEM. It's not a person either. It's teaching your teachers how to incorporate STEM into what they're already doing. So maybe that's you can get somebody that's fired up about STEAM and all that and how they can incorporate it in their lessons, and that way they can differentiate for students.
That was definitely an emphasis in that building. So there was a STEM person who had this huge room with all kinds of stuff in it. Right?
Yeah. So it's like a
Recyclable stuff.
Yeah, it's kind of like the
A
land.
makerspace.
But then the teachers themselves were talking about the STEM things that they would do. And I think if you're going to really move this division forward, and somebody might say, he's saying we're not moving forward. I'm saying really move it forward. You've got to do those kind of things.
It's all about this cross-curricular stuff, like, I mean, you can teach your math, but incorporate some of them into it. And I mean, they do STEM in Rockingham as part of library. It's not just one thing. Or your challenge or gifted teachers come up with these design briefs and teachers use them in their class. And
You can see some of that at Page Middle Library, right?
Yeah, and we'll get you over to Stanley. They've created a STEM space there where they're doing exclusively similar to what you saw.
I would love to see that. I think it's time. I mean, it's,
I wanted to add that we have a computer science grant that our ITR teams are leading with about 40 people. They're doing monthly CDs. They've been excited about it. I don't have a chance to get them in front of you yet.
good.
So I'd like to urge the Board of Supervisors to remove the line item budget scrutiny currently in place by the BOS. Under Dr. Fox, PCPS has had well-managed and balanced budgets with full transparency. Frankly, this level of budget micromanagement is an unfair overreach by the Board of Supervisors. It seems like the BOS is penalizing PCPS for what may have occurred 5 to 10 years ago. If so, it's time to get past that and let PCPS manage their budget like the vast majority of Virginia public schools. And not only that, it's inefficient. It's inefficient and it costs us more money. So that's all I have.
I had the opportunity to participate in another Aspire training that we're doing for our mentor program. I think that Mr. Hoffman's is doing a great job in getting the mentors prepared, and we had some great people there today. We had some Spitfires too. But I think it's really awesome to see, because with some of the questions that they were kind of posing, it was really, it's allowing us, it's really a community effort. You know, it's not just us leading and saying, hey, go and do this. You know, they're having ideas of things that they can do, and they were kind of bouncing ideas off of each other. And they brought up some things that we hadn't even thought about. So it's really great to see that program grow and kind of be influenced by what the community sees to be a need. So that was really great. Another thing, and it's very tragic, because I know I just mentioned this in our last meeting, but we did have another loss of an alumni, one of our students. Pretty sure Sarah Munger. And I know at least, you know, she had a lot of friends at Page County High School. So for the students of Page, you know, I hope that they're receiving the support that they need, that they know that they can go to their counselors, that we're offering that to them, because it's no one, you know, should lose someone that young and that tragically. So just condolences to her family and friends. I just want the kids to know that there's support there if they need. Another thing that I'm seeing, and this isn't even locally, it's not even in the community, I think it's nationally as well. We have these conversations and everyone's talking about, well, we're against this, we're going against this, we're going against this. And one of my favorite quotes is, we have to stop talking about what we're against and talk about what we're fighting for. And I know Mr. Painter said a couple of weeks ago, remembering that North Star and remembering the students and how every student has those needs and individual needs. And I just want us to kind of keep an eye, and this isn't just to the school system, you know, this is the world, I think, of, you know, what drives us. And if it's just anger and frustration and all, we're not going to get anywhere, because we're so focused on the problem, we have no sight of the solution. So I just want to put that out there for everybody.
make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Dr. Painter and a second by Mr. Painter to adjourn.
Dr. Painter? Yes. Mr. Dearborn?
Yes.
Ms. Albert?
Yes.
Mr. Painter?
Yes.
Ms. Sullivan?
Yes.
Ms. Ford?
Yes.